قل إنما أمرت إليه أدعو إليه أدعو إليه أدعو وإليه مآب وكذلك أنزلناه حكما عربيا وكذلك أنزلناه حكما عربيا ولئن اتبعت أهواءهم بعدما جاءك من العلم بعدما جاءك من العلم ما لك من الله ما لك من الله من ولي ولا واق ولقد أرسلنا رسلا من قبلك وجعلنا لهم أزواجا وذرية وما كان لرسول أن يأتي بآية إلا بإذن الله لكل أجل كتاب يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده أم الكتاب صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله تركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك ولا ينتظم في سلكها إلا سالك اللهم صل وسلم وأنعم وأكرم وبارك على حبيبنا وشفيعنا وقرة عيوننا سيدنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه في الأولين وصل وسلم وبارك عليه في الآخرين وصل وسلم وبارك عليه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين يقول عز من قائل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون اللهم اجعلنا منهم يا رب العالمين أوصي نفسي وإياكم بتقوى الله وبلزوم طاعته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار على الوجه الذي يرضيه عنا. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, to Him we belong, and to Him we shall return. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His infinite grace and boundless mercy to send an abundance of prayers and peace upon our most beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us on this blessed day of Jumu'ah, to forgive our sins and our shortcomings, to guide us to the path that is pleasing to Him, to make us of those who always live in loving surrender to La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah. May that be the reality that we live upon, the reality that we die upon, and the reality that we are resurrected upon. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Brothers and sisters, when we think about the essence of our existence as human beings, the purpose of our creation, the reason we're on this earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very simple and categorically clear. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That's the essence, the purpose of our existence, is that we were created to worship Allah. We were created to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We were created to live in loving surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that dictate, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us to follow His messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We follow him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam lovingly. We follow him in a disposition of obedience, of ta'ah, because he is the messenger of Allah. And he is the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent as a source of mercy. Prophet says, I am mercy that is well guided. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear to him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam where he says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So the messengership of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is one that is immersed in what? Mercy, compassion, love, care. Prophet ﷺ cared vehemently about the welfare of people. لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِرٌ نَفْسَكَ. He cared and loved people so much But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's as if you're going to kill yourself in the process of your love for the welfare of people. That's our ethos. I want it to be very clear where we are coming from as Muslimin throughout the ages, not just in the times of quote-unquote old or the times of new, the pre-modern or the modern. We always exist. It's a timeless truth. It's not relevant only to 1400 years ago or 1000 years ago or 100 years ago or today or 1,000 years from today. It will always be relevant. Bifadlillahi ta'ala. It's the timeless truth. Why do I introduce what I'm going to talk about in this frame? Because what I have just said is not something that is very obvious to people any longer. Certainly not in the public sphere, and even within the ranks of the Muslimin. The truth, the reality of our existence, the ethos that governs who we are, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, the obedience, the ubudiyyah, the servanthood, it's not any longer obvious. Why? This month is a month that is known as Pride Month, where people now internationally, corporations, the government, the news apparatus, the 24-hour news cycle, commercials, everything is about celebrating one distinct modern development over the past few decades, which is something known as the LGBTQ plus movement. This reality is something that as a Muslim community, we certainly have to discuss. And I know just bringing it up makes people go like a little bit like this. It's a very triggering reality because we don't even know how to talk about it without feeling threatened, without feeling, what is he doing? Where does he stand? What is he going to say? It's become such a volatile topic, such a sensitive topic, that we don't even know how to discuss it. We have no problem in the public sphere maligning religion and insulting God and dismissing prophecy and burning the Qur'an. There's no problem in doing that. People wantonly and comfortably would talk about, I'm not justifying anything, I'm just saying people have no problem smearing religiosity. But if you even think in the wrong direction about the pre-constructed narrative around the social phenomena known as the LGBTQ movement, suddenly a target is upon you. And I know many people are very afraid. Trust me, I talk to countless brothers and sisters in the Muslim community, countless people outside of the Muslim community, who wouldn't dare to even think a thought that is in contrary to the status quo. Because the threats are real. You can lose your job. You can lose your position. You can be canceled. You can be maligned as a bigot or as a hateful person, a religious zealot. That's the discourse. It's become so toxic, really, in a very blameworthy fashion. And therefore, as someone who does not fear being canceled, I want to, at the very least, create a space within my community, the Muslim community, to have a conversation. I think that's fair enough. I think it's very fair that as human beings, we're allowed to have opinions and thoughts that may be contrary to the status quo. The current climate makes it that it's a simple binary. It's a simple binary. You're either for or against. You're either with us or against us. You're either a loving person or you're a hate-filled bigot. That's the binary. You know what? It's like the Bush doctrine of the Iraq War. You're either with us or against us. The fact of the matter is, I would like to, as a human being, as a Muslim, as an American-born individual, as an American citizen, it doesn't matter American-born or not, I would like to assert an alternate frame. That the world is not like that. I reject the standard frames. I am not a hateful person. I'm not. Alhamdulillah, I have really, wallahi ma'azim, Allah is my witness. I have love in my heart for all human beings. I want to see mercy span the entirety of existence. Our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a man of profound love, mercy and compassion, care, justice. He cared deeply about the welfare of people. Maslahatul darain. As Imam Ibn Qayyim notes, that the maslahah, the welfare of the human being, not just in the afterlife, but in this life as well. That's what the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Messenger of Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth and all of us, that's what he brought. And as Muslims, we have to find our voice to say, hold on. All of what's happening socially must be, for us, filtered through our theology, through our aqidah, through our Qur'an and our Sunnah. That's the truth that we live upon and that we hope to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon. Because the climate as it is McCarthy-like. If you recall McCarthy hearings, you know McCarthyism? When it was, are you a socialist? Are you part of a socialist party? That's what it's become. You know, Muslims who suffered the most type of anti-sentiment in the modern period over the past 20 years, who have been constantly vilified, somehow now, a soccer player, think about this, just think about this. A Senegalese soccer player says, I don't want to wear a jersey with the rainbow flag on it. Demon, bigot, hateful. Why? He doesn't want to wear the rainbow flag. Why is that a problem? He never spoke ill, he never threatened, he never attacked. He simply said, I don't want to celebrate that. Why is he a demon? Why is the entire apparatus turned on to now vilify a person like that? Think about it. Do we as Muslims walk around expecting people to celebrate Muslims? Do you have to wear the colors of Islam everywhere you go? Do I force you to say, La ilaha illallah, because if you don't, you're not celebrating Islam and you're not tolerating Muslims? No. You know, we have disagreements. I don't expect you to celebrate Islam. I just expect you not to harm me, not to attack me. That's it. But now it's boiling over where in June, I have to walk into a Target and see the rainbow flag everywhere. I have to sift through my daughter's clothing because of the subliminal, powerful, overt, not just subliminal, but overt messaging of the rainbow flag. Normalized everywhere, all the time. You have to acknowledge it, you have to celebrate it, you have to embrace it, and if you don't, you're a demon. Why? I think I have all the right in the world to at least challenge the narrative. This is not hateful, I'm sorry. I understand people who are listening, and some of the young people in the room will be like, you know, the Shaykh is scaring me. I had a young person say to me once, you know, Shaykh, the problem with your generation, as if I was born in 1910, is that you're homophobic. Homophobic? Why? I'm not homophobic. I don't wake up at night with night sweats about gay people. I don't fear gay people. I don't, not at all. I was born and raised in this country. I went to high school in this country. I went to college in this country. Yes, I spent many years overseas studying in Azhar, but I also worked in this country in the corporate world for 4 years. I had gay classmates, gay co-workers. I was never afraid of them one day. I disagreed with the things that they did, but I was never afraid of them. I never hated them. I disagreed. And I think that's fair. Is that not fair? Why is that not a fair prospect in the common climate? Why? Why must I have a gun to my head to embrace and support? I have so many congregants across the country, the world, who now tell me about the corporations that they're in, the diversity and inclusion quotas. You have to embrace, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to celebrate, you have to change this. Why are we as individuals, not just Muslims, because it's not just Muslims, by the way, and many Muslims who are tired of the current climate. It's not Muslims, plenty of Christians and Jews are just suffering in silence because they cannot even speak. You can't even have an opinion. And I think enough is enough, to be honest. I want to make it very clear. What I'm beginning to do here is just the beginning of a conversation, because I know it's complicated. I know it's sensitive. I know many people in this room feel threatened, worried, concerned about this discourse. I know many of our young people, and I'll say this openly, many of our young people now have themselves become sympathetic activists for this movement, in a way that they're not for their own religion, by the way. And that's a very stark and worrisome reality, but it's the truth, and I'll say very openly, that our children, because their functional deen, their functional practical religion that governs their ethos, their mindset, their worldview, is not the dictates of the Qur'an and Sunnah. It's not the dictates of our deen, of our inherited tradition, no. It's the religion of the masses. What do we see out there today? What's celebrated in the public sphere? It's certainly not Allah, right? There has been an anti-God campaign in the public sphere for many decades. We have to remove religion, God, religious morality, and religious truth, all of that. Remove it violently from the public sphere so that even if you want to advocate a little bit for it, you're a religious zealot. Right? You want to advocate for some religious symbolism, religious zealotry. You have to stifle religious discourse. But do what? Promote the alternate discourse. We as Muslims, we are called theocentric beings, meaning that we center in our outlook of existence Allah, the one and only. We believe in Allah and we center Allah. Allah is the ultimate pursuit of ours in this life. But in the alternate reality that exists, what happens when you remove the divine? Who do you center? You center the self. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you not seen those who take as their high lord their desires? So now the human being is the center of existence. So we have philosophies that are a couple of hundred years old. Secularism, humanism, liberalism, scientism, all these alternate isms have now become the religion of the masses, religion of the corporations. Because you don't think corporations have to follow a religion? They do. Because they have to monitor their bottom line. If there's a threat to their bottom line by not putting up the rainbow flag, then what happens? Suddenly the rainbow flag is raised very high. Every logo becomes colored by the rainbow flag. Why? Is that a natural, organic reality, or is there a threat? There is a threat to their bottom line. This is the nature of the climate that we live. If you don't embrace with the fullness of yourself and recognize, then you will be demonized. You will lose your job. You will lose money. You will lose your education. There was a swimmer, a swim team, I don't know if you've heard of this, but a male transitioned to being a woman and then destroyed all the records and became number one. This person's own teammates, who were women, who were on this swim team, had to hide their identity when they were expressing their opinion of concern, that there is a competitive disadvantage. But they were told by their own administrators, if you cannot accept this, then you have a psychological problem and you need psychological treatment. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. You have a few, I'm not advocating for swimming or whatever, let's just set that aside. But suddenly, look at how militant the discourse has become. Suddenly, if you don't embrace it, then you have a psychological problem. And the person who transitions, that's 100% normal, but you, who are in conformity with thousands of years of tradition that predates even Islam, the Christians, the Jews, and many peoples before us believe in the same simple notions. You become the one who has a demonic problem. You have a psychological problem. You have a fault in your conceptions. But suddenly the alternate is what must be. And many have to be silenced in that regard. Brothers and sisters, what I'm doing here is I'm just highlighting the various inconsistencies and the real problems that I think have to be questioned and challenged in the public sphere. Because I know many of us feel very uncomfortable even broaching this subject. So inshallah, between this khutbah and the coming khutbah, and maybe alternate sessions, not next week, the week after when I come back, I want to begin a discourse around the frame of the Muslimin around this topic. I think it's high time that we have our own frame about how we perceive this issue. That we are not just going to parrot the narrative in the public sphere. We're not going to just be bullied by quotas and by policies and protocols that compel, through McCarthy-like measures, into just appropriating and adopting a disposition. It's enough is enough to watch our young people get lost in this reality. And some of the young people may be here, that who genuinely will sympathize more with a particular modern movement that's rooted in the self than with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Qur'an and Sunnah. And maybe that's a failure of us to not clearly articulate what it means to believe in Allah, follow the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and truly be a loving and kind person. This is not, there's no combativeness here. There's no hatred. Wallahi al-azim. The religious space is not a hateful space. It's not a combative space. It's a space where we seek to articulate our values, firmly grounded in the divine, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he brought so much to the Arabian Peninsula that contradicted the status quo of the Arabian Peninsula. Many, many things around marriage, around consumption, around economics and finance, around politics, around multiple parts of the human condition. And these ideas, they contradicted the status quo. In human history, there is no being that emulates the reality of love and mercy like our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that's what was bestowed upon him by Allah. But guess what? That also manifested in that he contradicted people. He challenged people. People hated him. People attacked him. He wasn't just going to be complacent and just accept because of this idea of, well, let's just kind of keep everything a little bit cute and calm and nice. No, it's not about being combative. It's about أَصْطَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ. You have to stand up and call to the truth that you are commanded to call towards. We're not going to be here for much longer, by the way. We're all going to die. And we're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that day will come. Wallahi al-azim, just like you see me and I see you right now, wallahi, we will stand in front of Allah. And we will be asked about our actions, our beliefs, what we advocated for. And can all of us with confidence say that, Ya Allah, I advocated for you, that I really sought to call to your way? Or am I going to live a life where all of my advocacy is so that people can just do whatever it is they want to do? I saw Muslims just a few days ago, beginning of June, put Pride Mubarak on their Facebook page. Really, just pause. Think about what you're doing. Why do you feel compelled? You think that's love? Do you really think that's love? You think that's compassion? No, it's not. You're just compelled by the narrative to do things that are in contradistinction to your theology. Because you don't have a narrative that makes you feel confident about who you are, about your Islam. So you feel that I have to compromise so that people say, oh, he's a good person. I understand. And by the way, that impulse to be perceived as a loving person, we all want it. No one wants to walk around and say, oh, that's the guy that hates everyone. No one wants to be that person. You think I want to be categorized? I've had articles written about me, so I'm good. Anti. Wallahi, I'm not anti. I'm not a hateful person, but I'm an advocate of our deen. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this act between a man and a woman is categorically prohibited, then that's the truth that will never be compromised. It's haram, categorically. What I will do, however, is open up a conversation and ask, what's this idea of your identity being your sexual preference? When did this develop as a social development, as a human development? People say, oh, well, this act has always existed throughout time. The Greeks, the Romans, the Arab, there were acts, people acted and did this act. But for it to be my identity, like my aqidah, is this is a very new thing. This is a very new thing that I think as human beings we can challenge. Wait, is it the best thing for the human condition to take as your own identity, your own aqidah, your creed, your sexual preference? That's a notion that has to be challenged. It's not a hateful consideration, that's love. When the Prophet ﷺ came, a very powerful incident, and it was the ruling on zina, that you need 4 witnesses. We're all familiar with the condition of 4 witnesses in the act of zina. The Prophet ﷺ introduced this idea to the companions, and many companions were not comfortable with it. Their Arab sense of chivalry and honor and dignity and hurma, it's very much tied into their women and their relationships, and so I need 4 witnesses. So one of the Ansar, Sayyidina Sa'd, heard this, and he was one of the chieftains of the Ansar. And he went, and they said, Ya Sa'd, did you hear what the Prophet ﷺ is coming with? He said, what is that? And this was a huge supporter of the Messenger ﷺ, someone who loved the Prophet ﷺ. And so he said, no way the Prophet would say that. So he went to the Prophet, and he confronted him. He said, wait, I need 4 witnesses? He said, yes. He said, no, Ya Rasulullah. If I see it, my sword is right here. No 4 witnesses. That was an overt challenging of the Messenger ﷺ by one of his great aides and supporters. What came over him? What came over him was the culture, the values, the mores, the morals that he is steeped in. Very powerful. It's not easy to just walk away from what your fathers and your forefathers and everything you understand about virtue. It was deeply entrenched in his essence, who he was. So of course he walks away and he realizes the disaster of contradicting the Messenger ﷺ that way. And his people, and from his tribe, said, Ya Rasulullah, la tu'akhiduhu fa innahu rajulun ghayur. Please don't be mad at him because he's a person who has this chivalrous type of ghira, honorable jealousy of the ones he loves. So it overtook him. So he came back to the Messenger and he admitted, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, forgive me. And he said, the Prophet said to him, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ أَنَّكَ رَجُلٌ غَيُّورٌ. You are a man of ghira. But then listen to this. The Prophet said, وَلَكِنِّي أَغْيَرُ مِنْكَ وَاللَّهُ أَغْيَرُ مِنِّي. If you think you have ghira, I have more ghira than you. I have more of this chivalrous jealousy than you, and Allah has more of this chivalrous, honorable jealousy than I do. So when Allah legislates, He's legislating with perfection. Don't allow, brothers and sisters, especially our young people in the room, don't allow your false, and I say it very directly, do not allow your false sense of compassion, your false sense of love, your false sense of sympathy to overtake Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sympathy, love, mercy, and compassion. Because when He legislates, it is Ar-Rahman who is legislating, the most merciful. None of us can even conceive of mercy and love that is comparable to the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how dare we for a second say, Ya Allah, you got it wrong. You're not merciful enough. Let me show you what mercy looks like. Pride Mubarak. Don't do that. You don't have more mercy than Allah. I don't have more mercy than Allah. We are humble servants. No. We say to our brothers and sisters in humanity, we say to everyone around us, we say we are people who love Allah. who love our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We obey Allah and we obey our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We truly do come with a message of mercy, love, compassion, and justice. And we at times will agree with people in our civilization, and at times we will disagree, and that's very acceptable. Somehow there is this narrative, and I'll continue to elaborate on this topic as the weeks progress, but somehow there is this narrative that if you don't accept, then you seek violence upon them. I'm not sure where this idea is rooted. You know, you want to disprove this concept? Go into any home. How many siblings have a love-hate relationship? Tell me about two siblings who agree on everything. There are siblings who vehemently disagree on everything, but at the end of the day, it's love. It's mahabba, it's care. I would never want to see my sister or my brother hurt. But I disagree with their behavior, their lifestyle, how they raise their children, how they dress, their job. I disagree with all what they do, but I love them and I want goodness for them. Is that a plausible concept or no? So why is that not acceptable in the public sphere? Why is it that there is this militancy around forcing subjugation of acceptance under threat, under duress? I find that very problematic as Americans in the American landscape. What type of fascism is this? Because it's very fascistic. You know, it's like now going into, I have many people in the corporate world, the way their ideas are monitored, how you sign your signature, do you put your pronouns or not? It's an indicator of something. You're either with us or against us. It's a litmus test. It's all McCarthy-like. Oh, you're one of those. You're a Muhammad. You're not a Mike. Because we like mics around here. Muhammad, what you really like? You're committed. Yeah, I can tell you. You can, SubhanAllah, the Prophet says they told them, they threatened him every possible way. He said, Wallah, he put the sun in my right and the moon in my left. I will never leave this truth. We have to teach our children what it means to have izzah. You know, and I'll close with this, inshallah. I apologize if I went a little over time. When Sayyidina Umar was going through the gates of Al-Aqsa, and he was receiving now the keys to the city. And Abu Ubaidah said to him, he saw him riding, walking, and he said, please get on so that the people think and the people can see that you are our Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, I wish if someone other than you, Abu Ubaidah, would have said this. He said to him, أعزنا الله بالإسلام لو ابتغينا العزة في غير الإسلام لأذلنا الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dignified us and honor us with La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah. If we seek dignity and honor anywhere else, أَيَبْتَغُونَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْعِزَّةِ? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this, dismissive fashion, do you seek dignity with them? الْعِزَّةُ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. All of dignity and honor belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May we only seek our dignity and honor of Allah. May we never be fearful or bullied or pressured by anything to submit to other than Allah. May Allah help us to always follow in the footsteps of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be beautiful servants of Allah, to serve Allah, to serve His creation, to uphold the truth of our deen, the truth of the Qur'an and Sunnah, to never compromise upon it. May we live upon it, die upon the truth of La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, and be resurrected upon that truth. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه في الأولين وفي الآخرين وفي الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters, as I said, this is the beginning of a conversation. There's many ideas, thoughts, perspectives. I know many of you sitting here may be challenged or have questions, I am very open to being asked, questioned, challenged on these motions. People want to, problematize, think through even further. Don't worry. With me, I'm not going to bully you into silence. In the public sphere, maybe you will be. But with me, you can ask, or we can inquire. Perhaps we'll have a few khutbah, and then maybe an actual gathering where it's more discussion-based, so we can really bring this out. And I really want our young people. I want our young people to know that there is a conversation to be had. Don't just write off the religious space if it doesn't conform to the ideas that you're hearing at college or in the media or in the public sphere. There are alternate considerations to be had. At the very least, and I'll put the onus upon you, because I know some people who listen to me like, oh, he's one of them, and write him off. Before you write him off, do the following. Ask yourself, are you being open-minded? If we want to praise open-mindedness, which is one of the governing dictates of the current theology of the public sphere, then be open-minded to hear a religious discourse, to hear a consideration that comes from prophecy, from Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not to say that I am the Prophet, but at the very least what I'm trying to do is advocate for our sacred tradition. So I have to be open-minded to listen, to consider. Let's create a rich space of dialogue in Al-Falah. Right? Let's not just make everything black and white and hush-hush in silence. Let's have beautiful conversations. And our ultimate goal here is very simple. The pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with us. May He guide us and forgive us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate our collective ranks. May He make us a people of diyana, people who really are upon this deed. إن هذا سبيلي فاتبعوه. May Allah place us on سبيله, on this path. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا استووا واصوا صفوفكم. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shaykh Yasir, we are truly blessed to have you teaching us, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you on behalf of our community, inshallah. Just two very important announcements. The first, we are thrilled and excited to announce that our beloved Shaykh Fouad is officially an imam here at the Falah Center. He will be responsible for leading prayers the 5 daily salah, and he will be the director of the Falah Qur'an Academy. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Shaykh Fouad really has a lifetime of training and learning in the Holy Qur'an. He has certificates in pronunciation, recitation, memorization from Al-Azhar University, and we're beyond excited on our Qur'an Academy is going to be able to offer to all of us. So please keep up to date on our website so you can follow the developments as Shaykh Fouad is in the process of creating this Qur'an Academy, inshallah. Second announcement. This Sunday, which is June 5th at about 6:30 p.m. after Asr is going to be our General Assembly meeting. Of course, this is for General Assembly members only, and I want to encourage all of you to join our General Assembly. As our resident scholar, Shaykh Yasir, teaches us, your house at home is really to put your head on the pillow to rest at night. But this is the house of Allah, and we need everybody to be present here. The General Assembly is the body that runs the masjid. It forms the committees, it's the committee chairs, it elects the board of directors, and inshallah, I really hope that all of you are there and join the General Assembly and join us, inshallah. Thank you all very much for coming. Please, on your way out, make a right turn only for everyone's safety, and thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, there's one more thing, Shaykh Yasir. We have a community member who has a cousin who is ill. If you could please make dua for them. They're in critical condition in the hospital. Thank you.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam, rasulillah. Inshallah, we'll make dua for all those who are ill. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Allahumma rabba an-nas, idhihi bil-ba's, ishfa anta ash-shafi, la shifa illa shifa'uk, shifa'an la yughadiru saqama. Allahumma rabba an-nas, idhihi bil-ba's, ishfa anta ash-shafi, la shifa illa shifa'uk, shifa'an la yughadiru saqama. Ya Allah, we ask you to envelop our dear, beloved community member with your grace and your mercy and compassion, to have lutf with them, and to, Ya Allah, lift the burden of illness from upon all of our brothers and sisters, to grant afiyah, to grant wellness in all of our conditions, outwardly and inwardly. Ya Allah, Ya Kareem, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa akhir da'wana.